Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Whitfield. I am the independent candidate running for United States Senate here in Arkansas. I'm going to give it just a minute for people to hop on, and I'll get this shared on Twitter and Facebook and all these different platforms. So we'll start in just 1 or 2 minutes. But I do appreciate y'all joining me tonight. I know I didn't do a live stream Q&A last week because 4th of July weekend. And then unfortunately I actually wasn't able to do my weekly trivia either last Wednesday. I just didn't have time between the holiday weekend and work to get the questions together. But I've got this all here. Let me get this all pulled up. And that way I can answer your questions as y'all ask them. And we have just a few updates, nothing really major. So make sure if you do have any questions throughout this whole live stream, ask your questions. I'll go through all the comments. I'll try to answer as many as I can before we get to like 1 or 2 hours, and we'll go from there. But I've got you all shared on Twitter. Let me share here on Facebook real quick. We'll go ahead and share to Americans Against Tom Cotton. It's one of the best groups on Facebook. All right. And I appreciate all of the support that I get from, all of my supporters on Americans Against Tom Cotton. You guys are great. Cool beans. Okay, so I will give an update on the case. We'll get there in just a minute or two. I do already have 19 people on, so I will go ahead and get started. I think it is 6 o'clock now. Awesome. So my name is Dan Whitfield. I'm the independent candidate running for United States Senate here in Arkansas. And a lot has happened in the last week, actually. So we were able to get our expedite filed for our appeal. And if you go to replacetomcotton.com, there's a tab. It's called Ballot Access. So go to replacetomcotton.com, click on Ballot Access, and I upload all of our court documents so you don't have to pay for them, even though it's public information. And the top one right now is the motion for expedited appeal. So you can see our expedited appeal here. You can see all the different things we filed. You can even go back and you can actually see the transcript for our court hearing on May 27th. It's like 254 pages, but it is definitely worth reading. And I think my 2-hour cross-examination starts on page 24 and goes to like 89. So you can go back, read all that good stuff, kind of catch up on where we're at with our court hearing. Now, where we're at right now with ballot access, because this is a question I get a million times a day, is Judge Baker did us a favor, basically. She ruled against us for our preliminary injunctive relief. And in that ruling, which was 61 pages long and took her 4 weeks, she ruled that we do have standing for declaratory injunctive relief. So that's why we're appealing. She ruled against us for preliminary and ruled for us for declaratory. So when we appeal it and it gets to the 8th Circuit judges, they'll see that they're standing for declaratory and they can rule for us for the declaratory relief. And if they do that, and when they do that, it will make it so the Attorney General cannot appeal it. So that was the biggest thing, was if Judge Baker had ruled for us on June 24th, then the Attorney General was already ready to appeal. They had ordered the transcripts the day of the hearing because they heard our cross-examination. They knew we had a great case, and they did not have a good case. So they were ready to appeal. And if they would have appealed, then they would have locked our case up until after the ballots were printed, and we would not have been able to get ballot access before the election. So it sounded like it was a loss for us, but really it was a win. That was the best possible outcome. So I know it's been really confusing and emotional for everybody, but don't lose hope. Everything is moving in the right direction. It just is going to take a little bit of time. Oh my gosh, my hair. I need a haircut real bad. I'm getting that quarantine hair. All right, so moving on. We are moving in the right direction. We filed our expedite for our appeal, and we have requested a court hearing for July 20th. So hopefully our hearing will be granted for July 20th, and we will be able to know exactly what's going on from there. Now, aside from that, again, I do want to reiterate that this is a Q&A. If you have any questions about policy, about who I am, my experience, what made me me, what my favorite color is, and my favorite pizza toppings are, feel free to ask, and I'll answer any of these questions throughout the Q&A. So that's where we are with ballot access. The next thing I wanted to talk about was, surprise, surprise. Attorney General Leslie Rutledge is running for governor. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy to see someone running for governor who's so openly corrupt. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, because I know she had been campaigning in Arkansas for about a year now. So are they going to be in the primary and against each other? Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Leslie Rutledge. Who is worse? I have no idea. It's both terrible. But yeah, so interesting thing, just something to talk about. Now, William Barr, the Attorney General for the United States, did come to Arkansas the other day. He did come. We think that it has to do with our appeal and our hearing for ballot access, which is good. It just means Tom Cotton is scared. His team is going out. They are editing all these different websites, trying to get us removed. They're working hard to, enforce their ballot suppression. So don't worry if you see on Wikipedia that it says I'm not running. It's not true. Don't worry about it. That's just Tom Cotton's team running scared, trying to push a false narrative, similar to when the media headlines are saying he's running unopposed. Let me pull this back up real quick, because I do see quite a bit of questions running through here. So that's where we are with that. I'm really glad to see that they are stressing and they're worried about this case, because it means we do have a good case. So let's see. What has happened with the case? Are you going to be an alternative candidate in November? So right now, we're very confident we will win the case. We will have ballot access. It's not going to be a write-in thing. It's going to be a straight ballot access thing. Actually, it's really odd, but in Arkansas, the deadline to mail each county requesting to be a write-in candidate is August 5th. So technically, we could do that, but in order to run as a write-in candidate during the filing period from November 4th to November 11th the prior year, you have to file your political practices pledge as a write-in candidate. And there was no way in November to foresee COVID-19, so I filed as an independent candidate. So I cannot be a write-in candidate. We will have ballot access, and my name will be on the ballot. Don't worry about writing in. Don't worry about how you can write in on a digital machine. Just don't worry about those unnecessary stresses right now. Another thing, let's see here. But, so that's pretty much where we're at. You don't have to worry about writing us in. We will have ballot access. Texas rooting for me. Well, thank you, Jenny. I hope your name is Jenny and I'm not mispronouncing it. It's one of my favorite ones. It's Harry Potter's wife's name. It's awesome. Let's see here. Brandon, question. What can folks outside of Arkansas do to help the campaign other than donations? So the biggest challenge for us thus far has been getting the word out. So the most help you can do at the moment is share our message, share our page, tell your friends about us, tell your family about us, and that will be just tremendously helpful. We are going to start doing our text campaigns and our call campaigns and canvassing and all that stuff. I'm just trying to get through our hearing on July 20th before we take that next step. Now, I do actually want to announce that I have purchased our yard signs. So I did order yard signs yesterday. I ordered only 500 of them because I'm already obligated to give 250 of them away to people who had donated during our yard sign fundraiser. Thank you all so much for doing that back in February. And I'll get you guys your yard signs here soon. Just keep being patient. Hopefully next week or the week after, depending on shipping times. But we do have our yard signs coming in, and that is just the first design. What I'll do is I'm going to get those yard signs added onto our store. So replace tomcotton.com, click on shop, and you'll see our yard signs, and I will have a few different a few different designs on there. The logos will be mostly the same, but the colors might be a little bit different. So whatever, fits your house and your feng shui and your yard and all that stuff, just pick whatever yard sign you want. It's about getting the name out there and getting our campaign known when most of the world thinks Tom Cotton's running unopposed, but he's really not. So let's see here. Who is the best band of all time? What a really hard question, because I like such a wide variety of music. I mean, I could say Queen was the best band of all time because Freddie Mercury wrote all of his own music, and it was just so amazing. And that's just, I like Queen. I like the Postal Service is a really good band. I love the Postal Service. I like Green Day. I love Metallica, Disturbed. Of course, I love George Strait, Brad Paisley, Tim McGraw. I like all sorts of music. I like 2 Chainz, Lil Wayne, some gangster rap. But yeah, so I like a whole variety of music. Let's see, what is the aspect of Cotton's time in the Senate that has frustrated me the most? So I would say the most frustrating thing would be, man, there's so many. How do you choose? It's crazy. Every single time that he's voted against our best interests in favor of his donors has been a reason that I want to run for office. When he campaigned on saying he would not repeal the Affordable Care Act until there was a replacement, yet he has voted more than 5 times to repeal the Affordable Care Act with no replacement. I mean, those kind of lies. He campaigned on lowering the deficit, budgeting our balance. But what is our deficit? I mean, we've gone from having a national debt of like $16 trillion in 2014 to over 20, I think it's like 21 or 23 trillion dollars now. Let's see here so I can be accurate with this, because it changes all the time. Let's see here. US national debt time. Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize we are at $26.5 trillion, our national debt. $26.5 trillion our national debt is. How insane is that? So let's pull up a calculator. So we have 330 million people. Actually, let's do it this way. 2650. Oh no. 2650 divided by 330. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean, our national debt is just ridiculous right now. He campaigned saying that it would be going down from 16, and now it's at 26. It's gone up $10 trillion. So, that's just financially, he's hurting us. He's hurting our social programs. He's voting to cut Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, disability. He's just not a good representative. So it's so hard because, then we get into the impeachment process. He voted not to impeach, Donald Trump was impeached. He voted not to convict Donald Trump. When Donald Trump blatantly, the evidence was right there. The evidence was there. We knew that Donald Trump used his authority as president of the United States to push a political campaign to get a foreign government to help him. It's so crazy. It's not a question of whether or not he's guilty of doing it. We know he did it. So there's just so many things. We get into telling American citizens that we need to use an overwhelming show of military force against American citizens, that we need to issue no quarter orders. It goes on and on, man. Look at what just happened with Roger Stone. They just pardoned a man who was convicted for either 7 counts for 9 years of prison time, and they just basically waived his prison sentence away because he's Trump's buddy. It's just super crazy, and this is the kind of stuff that the GOP is supporting right now. Let's see here. So yeah, there's a whole lot of things that I disagree with that he has done, and that's why I'm running. If I didn't disagree with him so much, if I thought he was doing a good job, if I thought he was representing myself and my family, I wouldn't even be running right now. Let's see. So, am I going to be on the ballot, Allison? We are. I'm very confident we will be on the ballot. Judge Baker did say in her ruling, we have standing for declaratory relief. So, we are just waiting to get through our expedited appeal to the 8th Circuit. Once the 8th Circuit rules in our favor, the Attorney General, they'll be able to appeal it, of course, but it's going to have to go before the United States Supreme Court, which they only see like 60 out of 10,000 cases per year. So they won't be able to hold it up until after the election, which is what their plan was originally. Another question is, there's a big voter registration drive going on to Arkansas that my campaign is hip to. So I have been hearing that there's a huge registration drive going on. I know some of the most important registration drives that we can do are at college campuses. I'm not sure with COVID-19 what's going to happen with schools opening in the fall. As of right now, they are going to be opening in the fall. But as of today, we have almost 1,100 new cases of COVID-19. So we have no idea what it's going to look like in August. But we can hope, and if they do decide to open up college campuses, we'll be doing huge voter registration drives throughout all the different campuses, the university campuses in Arkansas, and of course the community college campuses as well. What are my thoughts on the remarks that AG and Tom Cotton made on the topic of speaking to state police officers? So, I mean, I understand we do need to have law enforcement. I hate when Donald Trump tweets law and order because it seems like it's just law and order for everybody but him. But, I mean, we all know defunding the police wasn't the correct term. That's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to abolish the police. We're not trying to defund the police. What we're trying to push for is law enforcement reform. We're trying to demilitarize the police. We're trying to cut some of the funding, some of the fat that they don't need. We're trying to make sure that our law enforcement has proper training so that when they show up to a situation, they are ready to de-escalate and use minimum force necessary rather than escalating the situations looking to shoot and kill somebody. And those are things that we do have to address and look forward to, or not look forward to. We have to address these things and look forward or look for ways to, get them implemented, to pass these new pieces of legislation to get our law enforcement to the point where they are protecting us rather than killing us indiscriminately. But anyways, let me continue down through here. Okay, we got the right answer in Queen. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I love Queen. Freddie Mercury is pretty awesome. Let's see here. Another question. What's the latest date you could get news you'll finally be printed on the ballot? So the latest date possible is they actually start printing ballots at it's such a vague term, the end of August, beginning of September. So we are expecting them to begin printing as early as possible because of no, absentee ballots. So if they're going to make sure to have enough absentee ballots to get to all these different Arkansans who are requesting them right now due to COVID-19, they are going to begin printing earlier. We are expecting them to begin printing maybe around August 20th. That's why we push for our expedited appeal for July 20th, and hopefully we'll know where we're at as soon as possible. And as soon as I know when the hearing is and all the information, I'll make sure to post about it. I'll get all of the different court documents loaded onto replacetomcotton.com underneath the ballot access tab. That way I can keep you all as up to date as possible. Let's see. Oh, thanks, Jim, for posting the debt clock on there. I mean, it's crazy. I knew we were at like 23 trillion. I didn't realize we went up to 26.5. It went up real fast. That is insane. All right, we're here. Oh, thank you, Janice. It's been a roller coaster. It's been emotional. I've met so many great people. We are moving forward, and we're taking this campaign head on right now. I've got some really good new volunteers on my campaign leadership team. We're making progress. We're trying to get some campaign videos out now. I am going to be doing an interview again with We the People here on Wednesday evening. So we're going to be working on getting our website together as well. Underneath my policy tab on replacetomcotton.com there is all my different policy stances, and I've added spots for videos, so I can put video clips of me talking about my policy stances. That way people who don't want to sit there and read for like 30 minutes on my policy can just click and watch a video for 2 minutes and understand where I'm coming from and why. Let's see here. Have Cotton's henchwoman been trying to trip up my campaign and tricks? I mean, they have. They've been editing Wikipedia against us like 2 or 3 times a day. I actually was talking with someone about this earlier. We have to edit Wikipedia all the time because Tom Cotton's people are going through and changing, the facts and information. But other than that, I don't think they're too worried about it. They're still trying to focus on what's going to happen with this court hearing. And, I don't know. Honestly, I think he feels like we don't have a chance, which we really do. I mean, we're going to defeat him in November. We really are. But he feels like we don't. So rather than spending his time talking to Arkansans and campaigning here rather than some publicity event with the Attorney General, he's spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on out-of-state advertising. The dude has spent over $3.5 million on campaign ads in Ohio, in Wisconsin, in Iowa, in these battleground states preparing for his run for president in 2024. He doesn't care about Arkansans. He doesn't care about us. He has his eyes set on the highest bar possible, and that's what he's shooting for. So you know what? When we beat him in November and he loses to an independent in his home state, he will lose his electability, and we will not have to worry about something that is even more terrifying than a Donald Trump presidency, which would be a Tom Cotton presidency. Let's see here. Don't worry about spam and ask any questions you have. Do you have any more info about Bill Barr being in Arkansas to work with Cotton? I was actually very surprised to see him come here. I think it had a lot to do with the president pardoning a criminal. Roger Stone, he should be in prison. He's a criminal. We all know he's a criminal. He lied to Congress. He intimidated witnesses. He is a criminal, and now he has been pardoned. And I think Barr partially came down here maybe to talk about, our lawsuit and our appeal with Cotton, because the GOP has been helping Cotton to run unopposed. They're trying every way possible to get him to run unopposed. They tried to change the law for third parties to, instead of needing 10,000 signatures, need 26,000 signatures last year. Fortunately, the Libertarians were able to sue and get that reduced back down to 10,000 to keep their ballot spot after they paid $55,000 for their signatures. And then, and when they did that, they already had the dirt on the Democrat. They already knew they were going to get the Democrat to drop out. So they've been trying to get him to run unopposed for a long period of time now. And they're just still pushing down that track. They really don't want him to have an actual person to run against who threatens his position in the Senate, which is what they are scared of right now, because our campaign is a lot different. I'm not a politician. I'm a working class American. I've lived through all the struggles that most people are going through. I'm still facing those struggles every day. And because of that, I understand what it is to be a representative of the 49th richest state. I understand what it's like to, when my wife got pregnant, to be tight on finances and have to go apply for WIC and then sit at the community clinic, and things like that. I mean, it sucks, and the bureaucracies are terrible, and we can improve them in many different ways. But I understand that because I've lived through it. When you start looking at people who have, had a silver spoon in their mouth their entire life, who've never really had to have a real job, who, went to Ivy League schools and things like that, they're just so out of touch with what the rest of us are going through every single day. I don't feel like they can be an actual representative for us. And we see that a lot with where our representatives start taking money from these special interests, such as, my opponent, he took $8.5 million from the Koch brothers in 2014. Then he voted on the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which temporarily repealed the estate tax. Coincidentally, during that time the estate tax was repealed, David Koch died. His wife inherited $61 billion untaxed. Maybe that's why they spent $400 million on the elections that year. But, when you start looking at how our representatives are taking huge sums of money from special interests and then not representing us, that's really the heart and soul of why I'm running and why I think that regular working class Americans should run more. One of the things that I want to do with my campaign that I've started talking about is I really want to create a guide for running for office. We had 66 Republican incumbents run unopposed for state seats in Arkansas. 66 people running unopposed. How crazy is that? I mean, how can... A great example of this would be the gentleman who had sued as my co-plaintiff, Gary Fultz. He was running in a district where his representative, she first got elected into office 2 terms ago. The incumbent retired and endorsed her. Nobody ran against her. Last election season, nobody ran against her. This election season, he tried to run against her, and he didn't get enough signatures for ballot access, so she's running unopposed again. That means she has represented her district for 6 years, 3 terms, and has never been elected. She's never had to run in a general election. Now, how crazy is that? So, one of the things I really want to do with my campaign is I want to make sure that everybody knows how to look at who their representative is, and if they decide, look at who their representative is, how their representative has been voting, and then decide, is their representative really representing them and their family? And if not, then I want them to have a clear-cut guide on this is how you run for office, to make sure that we don't have 67 or 66, incumbents running unopposed. We have to make sure that we are electing our representatives, not just handing it to them. So let's see here. As a former Arkansas professor now living in California, I still have contact with new former students. Are there any skills you need for volunteers that I can put a call out? Let me know. Oh, well, thank you so much, Ross. Why don't you send me a message, and what I can do is I'll get you invited into my private volunteer group, and then we can kind of go from there. There are still a few seats I'm looking for my campaign staff. I'm looking for a professional fundraising director. That will be our first paid position in our campaign, because so far everything has been 100% volunteer, because people are awesome, and thank you guys so much for volunteering, all of y'all who are here watching right now. So yeah, we'll figure that out. Send me a message. Thank you so much. And he wants to put his money away for president. Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. It just goes to show how much he really doesn't care about us. I mean, his last town hall in Arkansas was in February of 2017. More than 3 years since he has come here and had an open forum with his constituents. I have pledged to hold 12 town halls per year, and I will continue after I'm elected to hold these weekly live stream Q&As on Saturday nights. I might have to make them a little bit longer. Maybe I'll do like a 3 or 4 hour Q&A because more and more people will have things to say, so I can get through more questions. But I will do them, and that is my job as a representative and a public servant, to talk to people and listen to their suggestions and their concerns and their advice. Let's see. And I don't really see any more questions, but there just really hasn't been like a whole lot. My hair's really bothering me. I need a haircut real bad. It's this side over here. There we go. So, we're making progress with our court case right now. We will have ballot access. Hey, Luba, thank you so much for joining. I hope you're doing okay and enjoyed your vacation. I love your little house you built. It is super cool, and I really want to build something similar like that for my daughter. It was so awesome. We are making progress with our case. We filed our expedited appeal. Go ahead and check out replacetomcotton.com. Click on ballot access, and you'll see all of our court documents uploaded there. Yeah, it's my COVID hair. And then while you're at replacetomcotton.com, make sure you check out Meet Dan, read my autobiography. check out donations spent. Look at how we've spent every single dollar in this campaign, every single penny. I have complete financial transparency. If you donate any money at all to our campaign, you can see how we spent it to make sure it's being spent in the best possible way. You can also check out my policy tab while you're there. It has all my different policy stance, and it is under construction right now. I'm working on getting my videos on there. I've got some of the videos filmed, but I find I don't do nearly as good like talking into a camera and just, like filming a commercial as I do doing an interview or answering y'all's questions and things like that. So we'll work on getting those commercials out. I did get a couple commercials out already, which were really cool. Thank you so much, Chris and Damon, for the help with the commercials. You guys are so awesome. They were 100% volunteer. It's just so amazing. So make sure, what? Here, let's see here. Oh, but it's just not the same without the video. So if you go to replacetomcotton.com, click on media, there's a section in there called commercials. Make sure you check out our commercials. Volunteers worked really hard on them, and I think they're really good. They hit such great points. If you go to replacetomcotton.com, let's see, that's not going to work. All right. But anyways, let me keep going through these questions. Someone in the campaign message you, Brandon. If you message me, Brandon, I will message you back. Let me click here real quick, and I will send you just kind of a placement message, and then I'll message you back later. All right. I know, right? Yeah, thank you again, Damon and Chris. You guys are super awesome. And we'll work on getting more of those commercials put out here shortly. And we are going to have to work on some major fundraising. They're really good commercials, and people need to know that Tom Cotton is not running unopposed. Tom Cotton wants you to believe he's running unopposed, but he's not. And we need to make sure that all of our Kansans know this. So to buy these commercial slots on television costs a lot of money. So what we're going to do is that's why we're trying to hire a professional fundraiser right now. And we will work on getting the funds necessary to get those commercials distributed onto your local cable channels. All right, let's see here. But I don't see any more questions on here. Did anyone have any more questions? We're only about 30 minutes in. I just don't have a lot of updates like I used to. We're waiting on our expedited appeal for our next hearing for the 8th Circuit Courts. And once I know more about that, I'll let you all know. I don't think actually for this hearing we have anything new. It's all just previous submitted evidence, and they'll take that previous ruling and they'll rule off of that. So Judge Baker, she made it 61 pages long, and she basically told them what to do, so we should be good. Oh man, hey John, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's really hard. We should have mask mandates. It's a really controversial topic. People think it, or they don't think. They say it's against their constitutional rights, but realistically, it's not against their constitutional rights. And in fact, as Americans, we all take part in the social contract, which tells us that we need to protect ourselves and those around us. We can't harm those around us. And wearing a mask does just that. I would love to see mask mandates. I wear a mask every time I go out. I know the governor tries to use, really, I'm just going to say it, stupid phrases like, oh, I strongly recommend. It has nothing to do with strongly recommend. It has to do with people either wear them, you tell them to do it, or they won't. We do not need to be opening up schools. They just had I think it was in Kentucky, but a daycare had reopened, and they had used only, half capacity and tried to take, preventative measures against COVID. And I think they just reported 15 staff members and 7 children tested positive for COVID-19 after they did that. We just had a summer camp in Missouri, not far from where I live right now, 82 people just tested positive from going to summer camp, and they want to open up our schools? I mean, it's just so hard, because as responsible adults, we can be like, okay, I'm going to go into public, I'm going to go into the grocery store, and I'm not going to touch anything I don't need to touch. I'm not going to touch the doors. I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to use hand sanitizer, wear a mask, all these different things, where these children, they're kids. They're going to be like, oh, hey, come sit in my chair. Oh, you need a pencil? Here's my pencil. I mean, they just don't understand the way that we do. So we have to be very, very careful about protecting not only our children, but the teachers, the staff, every single person who works on campus. And then at the same time, we have, so say my daughter goes to school and she gets COVID-19 and she'll be okay. Now say she comes home and gives that to myself or my wife, we might not be okay. Say she, a student comes home and lives with her grandparents. Those grandparents might not be okay. Say, that, and it's just so crazy. It's so crazy. We're looking at like 1,100, almost 1,100 new cases today. We shut down schools when we had like 400 cases in a day, and now we want to open them. So I do like how at least the Bentonville School District pushed back the decision to either virtually or blend educate your child until I think it's July 22nd. So we have 11 more days. It was July 8th, and we decided to keep my daughter home. But then we tried to inform our work, and our boss is like, yeah, well, you can't, you have to come to work. So it's just so hard. It's like, what do? Do you put your child's life at risk? Do you put your own life at risk? Do you quit your job? I mean, these are real questions that hundreds of thousands and millions of people are asking themselves. What do I do, and what's the right option? And it's really hard. It's really hard. I mean, I'd say the best thing right now is we should have mask mandates. Look at other countries who have taken this as seriously as they should have, as seriously as we should have, before we turn this democratic hoax virus into a partisan issue. So it's really hard. I mean, look at that, 0.002% of children could die nationally. That's over 12,000 children for school. 12,000 is too many. 2 is too many. 1 is too many when it could be prevented. What we need to be doing is focusing on how we are going to make sure that all of our students have the availability and the option to virtually learn. How are we going to make sure that we have internet access at every single American's house? We need to focus on these things right now. But it's really tough. I mean, it's a really hard decision we're all going to have to make. And it's kind of a decision we can't even make. I mean, my wife and my employer, they said if we homeschool our kid, we can't work from home. We have to go back to work. So what do we do? Do we quit our jobs? We still have rent, mortgage, utilities, food. It's not like we can just quit our jobs and find a new job, especially with COVID. People are having a hard time finding jobs. That's why the unemployment rate is so high. So it is something that's really stressful. It's something a lot of people are dealing with, and it's something that we need to talk about more, but we need to talk about it in a nonpartisan way. If I'm going to do research on whether or not I should be wearing a mask and if it's going to help, I'm not going to be reading Facebook memes. That's not how you find information. You don't read a meme and say, oh, hey, look what this meme said. You listen to doctors, and the doctors are the ones who should have the final say on whether or not our children are going back to school, and not a politician, especially when it is a politician pushing a party agenda. Let's see here. No, it's so hard, Karen. It's to protect your children. It's just so hard. 1.6 billion children across the globe are out of a school. It has nothing to do with the Democratic Party, right? And people are still waiting for unemployment. Yeah, the unemployment is super terrible. We really need a People's Act. The CARES Act, yeah, $1,200 was nice, but look at how much working class Americans got versus how much corporations got. They got rid of all the oversight. We have no idea how many billions of dollars went to $1 million companies who were profiting millions of dollars a year. And we need to make sure that we have a new act, a People's Act, an act that will actually give money to people, not corporations, and give us enough money to pay all of our utilities while we are living through this worldwide pandemic. Let's see. Trump wants to blame all his failures on the Democrats. He told us he takes no responsibility. Man, something my mom taught me when I was very young: you take responsibility for your actions, and you learn that as you grow. There are consequences to the actions that you take, and you need to make sure that before you make an action, you consider the consequences and decide if those consequences are worth the action that you're taking. And unfortunately, I just don't think Trump has the mentality to think that far ahead. He's not a 1 or 2 step ahead kind of guy. He's I just did something and now I'm going to think about it kind of guy. I have not adopted a fox yet. I wish I could adopt a fox so bad. I'm working on my wife right now, trying to get a dog or a cat or something. We'll see. But no, not there yet, Mr. Jim. Let's see here. I think I read through all the questions that are there. We're running at about 40 minutes right now. Did anyone have any other questions that have to do with... It's so hard to do this because I had to mirror my screen so that my little... There we go. My little magnets are facing the right way over there. Will I buy a copy of Mary Trump's book? I don't know. Probably not. I've got so many books to read right now. Right now I'm working on 1984, since that's Tom Cotton's favorite book. I've still got so many other books to read. I mean, I have like 150 hours on my Audible to go through still. So I probably won't buy her book, but I'll catch the highlights. I'm sure they're out there somewhere. People will make memes of them. Let's see here. But that's where we're at right now. So just a really quick recap before I close this off. We have filed our expedite for our appeal. We are right now waiting for our hearing. I believe our hearing should be sometime around July 20th is what we requested for. Oh, you just read it. Awesome. It's a very interesting book, and I understand a lot of the terms that Tom Cotton has been using while he tweets. Wow. It really makes me understand how much more dangerous of a man Tom Cotton is. Favorite Audible book so far? Oh, man. I don't know. I have a lot of Audible books I've listened to. I would say a really good one is... Invisible Hands by Kim Phillips Fine. I refer that to a lot of people. It's about the rise of conservatism in America from the early 1900s until Reaganism, and it explains what happened to unions, how union busting started, and why our unions are so weak today. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of our elected officials during the 70s and 80s, around the Goldwater period, were CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. So yeah, just something to think about. Invisible Hands, it's a good one. Dismantling the Empire was a really good one by, I think it was Chalmers. Let's see here. Yeah, it was Chalmers Johnson. That was a really good one as well. I'm working on the Federalist Papers right now. I have so many different audiobooks to read. But yeah, Audible is super awesome. And it was too bad because I was able to listen to all these audiobooks while I was driving 10,000 miles around the state. And now that I'm not driving as much, I've put my time on Domino's at hold, so I'm not delivering, and I've lost a lot of time to listen to Audible. I've never heard of Sarah Cooper. Ayn Rand Foundation receives a bailout from the feds. Absolutely. Man, it's all pay to play, bro. It's crazy. It's how much money can you put into a political corporation's bank account and then what they can give to you in return. It's just insane. No, I haven't watched The Hamilton on Disney Plus yet. I do not have Disney Plus. But if I get some time, I'll have to do that. All right. But let's go ahead and close this off. I'm going to go ahead. We just had dinner, got all of that. But I think I'm going to sit back and relax and listen to this 1984 for a little bit. I just got started. I'm only at like an hour or so into it. But my name is Dan Whitfield. I am the independent candidate running to unseat and replace Tom Cotton in November. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime. My phone number is on my website. You can give me a call. You can leave me a voicemail. Send me a text, an email, social media message, any of the above, and I will always get back to you. You know, that's my job, to listen to you. So make sure that you help me do my job and reach out to me. But if you ever have any questions, reach out. My name's Dan Whitfield. Have a good night. May God bless y'all, and may God bless America.